You know, usually when we think about cleaning our homes today, there is this expectation of total chemical warfare.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, think about the last time you tackled a really dirty bathroom. You probably prepped for it like you were entering a surgical suite.
Yeah. Rubber gloves, windows open.
Exactly. You see a stain, you reach under the sink, and you grab a brightly colored plastic bottle that usually has like a terrifying warning label on the back.
Right. Highly flammable, do not inhale.
Yeah, you spray it, you hold your breath so you don't inhale the fumes, and you just watch the stain get chemically obliterated.
It feels very binary, doesn't it?
How do you mean?
Well, our modern mindset dictates that a surface is either disgustingly dirty or it has been aggressively sanitized by some synthetic compound that requires heavy ventilation.
Right.
We've been conditioned to believe that true cleanliness requires overwhelming chemical force.
It's clean or it's toxic. But then you look at the source material we are unpacking today, and you step into the world of traditional foundational housekeeping. And suddenly, that whole modern chemical arsenal under your sink seems, well, frankly, a little barbaric.
It really does.
We're looking at a maintenance landscape that is honestly a lost art form.
Yeah, what we are looking at is the absolute definition of old-fashioned ingenuity. The documents we are analyzing today totally reframed how we look after the spaces we live in.
Completely.
We are moving far away from the single-use, harsh, commercially packaged chemicals that dominate today's hectic world. Instead, we're taking a magnifying glass to the methods our grandparents and great-grandparents utilized to keep their homes pristine.
And what blew my mind reading through these archives is that they were achieving incredible, long-lasting results using things you probably already have sitting in your pantry or like your fruit bowl right now. Which is wild to think about. It is. So welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are on a mission for you. If you are listening to this, you are likely someone who wants to save money, who cares deeply about the environmental impact of what you wash down the drain, and who actually wants the things you own to last longer than a few years.
And I think the underlying approach here is what makes this so compelling.
Yeah.
Yeah, we aren't just rattling off a list of quaint historical tips. This represents a complete paradigm shift.
Okay, a paradigm shift.
Yes, the source material reveals that traditional housekeeping was based heavily on systemized organization, but even more importantly, on a profound understanding of the fundamental properties of materials.
Meaning knowing what you are cleaning instead of just, blindly spraying a universal cleaner on everything in sight.
That is the core of it.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing the microscopic differences between a woven natural plant fiber, a porous piece of unglazed ceramic, or a sealed breathing wood grain. Once you grasp the nature of the material, you realize you can manipulate very basic, accessible elements to clean it. Things like the natural acids found in citrus, or the alkaline pH of baking soda, or the protective hydrophobic qualities of natural oils.
To maintain your home far more effectively.
Exactly. And much more gently than you ever could with commercial products.
Okay, well, let's put this philosophy to the test. Because we are going to turn those boring, dreaded Saturday morning chores into some seriously fascinating kitchen chemistry.
I love that.
To do that, I want to start in the rooms that demand the absolute most from us hygienically. Think about the most stressful spaces in your house to clean. We are going straight into the bathroom and the kitchen sink.
The ground zero of household grime.
Basically, yeah.
These are the spaces that see the heaviest biological load and the most complex mineral buildups.
Well, the source material goes right after the big one, which is the bathtub and the bathroom sink. Instead of reaching for a commercial scouring powder, the kind that feels like fine sand and leaves a chalky residue everywhere, the recommendation here is to use natural acids and abrasives.
Okay.
For example, if you are dealing with stubborn dirt or crusty mineral deposits around the faucet, you don't need a heavy-duty descaler. You take a slice of lemon peel, dip it in ordinary table salt, and rub it right on the deposit.
Think about what is actually happening chemically in that moment.
Right. Break that down for us.
Well, mineral deposits from hard water are typically highly alkaline, things like calcium carbonate and magnesium.
Okay.
The lemon peel contains a high concentration of citric acid. When you apply it, the acid immediately goes to work neutralizing and breaking down the alkaline structure of the deposit.
And the salt.
The salt serves as your mechanical abrasive.
It's basically exactly like a gentle exfoliating scrub for your skin.
Yes.
You know those high-end spa treatments where they use salt or sugar to safely rub away the dead layers of skin without damaging the healthy living tissue underneath?
Exactly the same principle.
You are performing the exact same procedure on your bathtub. You're being tough on the dead layers, the dirt, and the hardened minerals, but you are keeping the base material completely safe from deep scratches.
That is a brilliant analogy. And, to take that idea of renewing the base material a step further, the source outlines a specific trick for restoring the overall luster of a heavily soiled bathtub, sink, or ceramic tile wall.
Which is?
You create a thick paste made from salt and mineral spirits, and you scrub the surface with it.
Now wait, mineral spirits and salt sounds pretty intense. When I hear mineral spirits, I just think of paint thinner sitting in the garage.
It is a strong solvent, and that's exactly why it works on catastrophic bathroom crime.
Oh, really?
Yeah, over months and years, body oils, bath products, and soap scum polymerize.
Meaning they sort of fuse together?
Right. They link together to form a hard, plastic-like shell in the tub. The mineral spirits act as a powerful solvent to cut completely through those deep, polymerized layers of oil.
And I guess the salt gives you that friction.
Meanwhile, the salt provides a safe, non-scratching friction to physically lift it all away.
Mm-hmm.
But, and this is important, the text includes a massive warning here. You absolutely must know what your tub is made of before you try this.
Because not all tubs are created equal.
Right.
If you live in an older home with a cast iron or enameled steel tub, that salt and solvent mix is great. But the source is very specific about modern materials. If you have a fiberglass bathtub, you want to skip the intense solvents entirely. You just wipe it down with a damp cloth and a little baking soda.
Because fiberglass is much softer than fired enamel.
Oh, okay.
And baking soda is a significantly milder abrasive than salt. Its crystalline structure breaks down easily under pressure.
So it crushes instead of scratching.
Exactly, meaning it provides a gentle alkalinity that cuts through light grease without carving micro scratches into the relatively soft surface of the fiberglass.
What about acrylic tubs? I mean, a lot of modern seamless bathroom inserts are acrylic, and the source notes that these are even more delicate than fiberglass.
They really are.
They have a reputation for being a nightmare to keep clean, but the secret in the text is actually doing less. If you shine an acrylic tub regularly, all you actually need is a little liquid dish, soap and water.
Because acrylic is simply a form of plastic.
Right.
If you take harsh abrasives to a plastic tub, you will create thousands of invisible micro scratches.
Which just traps more dirt later.
Over time, yes. Those tiny ravines harbor more dirt, more hard water, and more bacteria, making the tub look dull and dirty much faster. By sticking strictly to liquid dish soap, you are utilizing surfactants.
Now, surfactants are the molecules that make water wetter, right? They make things slippery.
In a sense, yeah. Surfactant stands for surface active agent. These molecules have one end that loves water and one end that loves oil. So they bind to the body oils and dirt on the acrylic, surround them, and allow them to be easily lifted and washed away by the water stream, all without physically grinding against the smooth plastic surface.
So we've got the tub sorted, but what about the sheer amount of soap scum that builds up on the shower walls and the glass doors?
Oh, that's the worst part.
It is. And the text has a hack for this that sounds, frankly, completely unhinged.
Let's hear it.
To prevent soap scum from building up in the first place, you clean the shower daily and then rub the walls down with a fabric softener sheet.
Okay, it sounds incredibly counterintuitive. Yeah. Taking laundry supplies into the shower stall.
I couldn't believe it when I read it, but the text claims that if you do this, the water will just run off easily, leaving zero residue behind.
Well, there is actually a beautifully clear physical mechanism driving this.
Wait, really? It works?
It does. Fabric softener sheets are coated in a layer of positively charged chemical compounds, often silicone-based lubricants or fatty acid derivatives.
Okay, I'm following.
When you rub that dry sheet across your clean shower wall, you are transferring a microscopic hydrophobic layer to the surface.
Hydrophobic meaning water-fearing.
Yes, the water molecules are physically repelled by the fatty acids. The droplets simply cannot cling to the vertical surface.
Because it's too slippery.
Exactly, which means they can't sit there and slowly evaporate, leaving their dissolved minerals and soap residue behind. Gravity pulls them straight down the drain.
That is incredibly smart preventative maintenance. You're altering the surface tension of the wall itself.
You really are.
And speaking of minerals, if you do miss a spot and get those chalky streaks, which are usually calcium or lime scale, the text says to use a squeegee daily. If the streaks persist, you just rub them off with a cloth soaked in white vinegar. Again, the acid defeats the alkaline scale.
And you avoid bringing a pumice stone or a harsh scraper into the shower, which would just ruin the glass or tile finish.
Yeah, don't do that. There's also a fantastic little mechanical tip hidden in this section. Apply a thin layer of petroleum jelly to the shower curtain rod.
It seems like a tiny detail, but consider the daily wear and tear.
Right.
A dry metal ring scraping against a dry metal rod creates friction. You end up yanking on the curtain, which inevitably tears the plastic liner, or, worse, slowly pulls the rod's mounting hardware right out of the drywall.
Which is a huge pain to fix.
Right, so the petroleum jelly just eliminates the friction. It's a perfect example of how traditional housekeeping focuses on extending the life of the hardware.
I love that holistic approach. Now, let's talk about the crown jewel of bathroom cleaning, the toilet.
The fun one.
If you live in an area with hard water, you know about the severe crusty scale buildup that forms at the water line in the bowl.
It's notoriously difficult to remove.
Most people think you need toxic, heavy-duty bleach to get rid of it. But the source says to take ordinary toilet paper, soak it in vinegar, and plaster it over the mineral deposits, leaving it there overnight.
This specific technique addresses a fundamental problem with how liquid cleaning agents work. Exactly, gravity.
Yeah.
A liquid like vinegar is thin and watery. If you just pour it into the toilet bowl, it runs right down the porcelain sides and dilutes into the water at the bottom.
So it never actually touches the stain for long enough.
It never gets the sustained contact time required to dissolve heavy, calcified scale.
Oh, I see where this is going. The toilet paper isn't for scrubbing. It acts as a delivery system.
It is a makeshift poultice.
Right.
The paper holds the acid directly against the alkaline scale, defying gravity for 8 hours while you sleep. By morning, the chemical reaction has done all the heavy lifting.
Then you just flush it.
You flush the paper away and you just lightly brush the dissolved scale off the porcelain.
That is the definition of working smarter, not harder.
It really is.
Now, if you do want an all-purpose cleaner that you can keep in a spray bottle for daily use, the source provides a recipe for a citrus cleanser for the bathroom. And this isn't just squeezing a lemon into a bucket of water.
No, it's very specific.
It's a very precise chemical formulation. It calls for 2 teaspoons of liquid dish soap, 5 drops of lemon essential oil, 5 teaspoons of pure citric acid powder, and 1 cup of water.
Let's analyze that formulation, because it perfectly replaces nearly everything you'd buy in a store. You start with the liquid dish soap.
Which gives us those surfactants we talked about, right? To break the surface tension and lift body fats and soap scum. I understand that part. But why are we adding lemon essential oil? Is that just so the bathroom smells like a lemon grove?
Well, the fragrance is a bonus, but essential oils serve a mechanical purpose.
Oh, they do?
Yes. Lemon oil contains high levels of D-limone, which is a fantastic natural solvent for sticky residues. It cuts through adhesives and heavy greases.
I had no idea.
Plus, it provides a very clean, volatile fragrance that evaporates naturally, unlike synthetic perfumes that linger heavily in the air and can trigger headaches.
And then we drop the heavy hitter into the mix, which is the citric acid powder.
Right. The citric acid drastically lowers the pH of the entire solution, turning it from a gentle soap into a powerful agent against hard water stains, rust spots, and mineral buildup.
So how do we make it?
To make it, you mix the dish soap and lemon oil together first, so the oil blends with the soap. Then you dissolve the citric acid powder in the water to make a clear fluid, and finally combine the two.
And just put it in a spray bottle.
You can store this in a spray bottle for up to 3 months. It's highly effective, it costs pennies to make, and it is totally kind to your plumbing in the environment.
I am definitely mixing a batch of that this weekend. But let's move out of the bathroom and into the kitchen, specifically the kitchen sink. The source material lays down some very strict, non-negotiable rules about how we handle our dishes, especially the good stuff.
Yeah, the text is absolute on this point.
Yeah.
You are vastly better off washing dirty pots, heavy pans, fragile glassware, and delicate porcelain by hand.
It even calls out wooden chopping boards specifically. It states wooden chopping boards and wooden plates should never, under any circumstances, be machine washed.
This comes back to respecting the physical properties of the material. Wood is porous, it's organic, and it breathes. It holds moisture.
Right.
A modern dishwasher is a hostile environment. It subjects items to extreme, sustained heat, high-pressure water jets, and highly aggressive alkaline detergents.
which the text says will cause the wood to lose its natural luster, dry out, and eventually crack and split right down the middle.
Think about it. When you put wood in a dishwasher, the intense heat and water cause the wood fibers to rapidly and violently expand.
Right.
Then the high heat drying cycle kicks in, baking the wood and causing those same fibers to violently contract.
Oh, wow. So it's just warping back and forth.
If you force an organic material to expand and contract to that extreme over and over, the structural integrity of the wood simply fails. The grain splits. Hand washing allows you to control the water temperature and the duration of exposure.
That makes total sense. While we were talking about hand washing, the source offers a recipe for something called soft soap.
This is a great one.
It says soap making is an age-old tradition, but you don't need lye and animal fat to do it. You take the odds and ends of old, unscented bar soap. You know, those tiny, useless slivers that slip out of your hands in the shower, the ones everyone usually throws away.
We all have those.
Yeah, you take 6 tablespoons of grated leftover soap, put it in a saucepan with a quart of cold water, and put it over low heat. Bring it to a boil, let it simmer for 15 minutes, pour it into a glass jar, let it cool, and it forms a thick gel. You just use a teaspoon of this gel to wash the dishes.
It is a brilliant zero-waste strategy. You are reclaiming the surfactant properties of the discarded bar soap by suspending it in water,
Basically making your own dish liquid.
creating a highly concentrated, easy-to-use liquid detergent
Yeah.
out of what was essentially garbage.
But here is the part of the dishwashing section that really made me pause. The actual process of washing the food off the plates. We have all been taught since childhood that scalding hot water is the only acceptable way to get dishes clean.
Oh, absolutely.
Hot water melts grease, hot water kills germs. That's the gospel.
That is the modern assumption. We equate heat with sterilization.
But the text throws a massive curveball. It says that while grease certainly rinses off better with hot water, if a plate is covered in proteins and carbohydrates, those are best removed with cold water. Cold water. I thought hot water was the universal solvent.
Well, if we break down the molecular chemistry of the food on your plate, this advice is actually flawless.
Really? Explain that to me.
Have you ever tried to wash a frying pan that had scrambled eggs in it and you blasted it with really hot water from the faucet?
Oh, it's a total nightmare. The yellow egg residue just seems to cement itself onto the metal. You end up having to scrape it off with your fingernails.
That is exactly what is happening. Eggs are almost pure protein. When you expose proteins to high heat, they denature and coagulate.
Meaning they cook.
Their internal structures unfold and tangle together. They literally cook. By hitting a protein stain or a complex starchy carbohydrate stain, like dried oatmeal or mashed potatoes, with hot water, you are actively cooking the residue onto the plate.
So you're making it worse.
You are creating an adhesive bond, making it exponentially harder to remove.
Wow. So by using cold water first, you relax the proteins and carbs so they can release their grip on the dish.
You use the cold water to loosen and lift the structural matrix of the food.
Okay.
Once the bulk of the egg or the oatmeal is gone, then you switch to the hot water and your soft soap to tackle the residual greases, oils, and butter, because heat is required to melt lipids. It's a sequenced scientific process.
I'm definitely trying that next time I make eggs. Okay, I have to bring up my absolute favorite piece of advice in this entire section. It's found under the porcelain heading.
I think I know which one you mean.
Imagine you have a beautiful piece of fine china, maybe a teacup or a serving platter, passed down through your family, and it has developed a hairline crack. Not broken in two, but one of those visible, dark spiderweb lines right across the glaze.
A heartbreaking but very common issue with old, glazed earthenware or fine porcelain as it ages. It experiences microscopic temperature expansions and contractions over decades.
The source states you can remove hairline cracks in fine china by soaking the piece overnight in a large pot of warm milk.
Yeah.
Now, I read that and immediately thought I had stumbled into a book of magic spells. Warm milk. How on earth does dairy fix a broken ceramic plate? I mean, are we doing structural repair or are we making a latte?
I completely understand the skepticism. It sounds like folklore.
It really does.
But this is actually a beautifully elegant, historic repair method rooted deeply in natural chemistry. To understand it, we need to look at what milk actually is.
Okay.
Milk isn't just opaque white water. It is a highly complex emulsion of fats, sugars, and most importantly, heavy proteins. specifically a protein called casein.
Casein. I've heard of that in fitness supplements, but not in pottery repair.
Historically, long before synthetic epoxies existed, casein from milk was extracted and used to make some of the world's strongest wood glues and even early durable plastics.
Wait, plastic from milk?
Yes. When you heat the milk, and the text wisely specifies warm milk, no warmer than you would give a baby so it doesn't curdle, you encourage those dense casein proteins to become mobile and active.
And because the milk is a liquid, it seeps deep down into that tiny hairline crack in the plate.
Exactly. It permeates the microscopic, porous, unglazed ceramic hidden inside the crack. As the china sits submerged in the pot overnight, the water content in the milk slowly evaporates.
Leaving the protein behind.
The heavy casein proteins and natural fats are left behind, forming a subtle, organic filler. It acts as a natural binder that bridges the microscopic gap. Because milk is white, it blends seamlessly into the white porcelain base. The next day, you gently wash the surface of the plate, and the visual evidence of the dark crack is gone.
That is just mind-blowing to me. We are using the structural proteins of a dairy product as microscopic spackle.
It is the ultimate example of understanding your materials. You are using an organic compound to flawlessly fill a mineral void.
Wow. Now, it's one thing to use milk as a filler on a white, opaque ceramic plate, but what do you do when the material you're holding is completely transparent? You can't hide milk inside glass.
No, you definitely can't.
When you are dealing with glass, crystal, and mirrors, you can't hide anything. The evidence of dirt or the evidence of using the wrong cleaning method is visible to everyone in the room.
Transparent materials require a very delicate dance. The text opens this section by acknowledging that people have collected luminous stemware for centuries, handing them down from generation to generation, and these pieces demand very specific attention.
The very first rule they lay down for true crystal is a massive bolded warning. To keep cold glasses from cracking, you wash them in warm water only.
Yes.
But they go further. They warn that scalding hot water will physically leach the shine from crystal glasses and permanently dull the delicate gold or silver rims.
The stakes are incredibly high when handling these items. True crystal isn't just regular window glass shaped into a cup. Crystal contains heavy additives.
Like lead.
Historically, lead oxide, yes, or in modern lead-free crystal, elements like barium or zinc. These additives are what give the material its incredible refractive index.
Meaning how it sparkles.
Exactly. It's what makes the light bounce around inside the glass to create that brilliant sparkle, and it's what gives it that sustained, satisfying, musical ping sound when you tap it.
But those same heavy additives change how the glass reacts to heat.
Drastically. When you plunge a thick crystal goblet into scalding hot dishwater, two devastating things can happen. First, you risk catastrophic thermal shock.
Because it expands too fast.
Right. The hot outside of the thick glass expands rapidly, while the cooler inside remains contracted. The resulting physical stress shatters the glass in your hands.
Which is an immediate, obvious disaster. You know you've messed up.
Right. But the second danger is much more insidious. Repeated exposure to scalding water, especially combined with harsh alkaline dish detergents, can literally cause a chemical reaction on the surface of the crystal. The hot, soapy water acts as an extractor, leaching the lead or barium ions right out of the microscopic matrix of the glass.
Oh, wow.
That is what causes that cloudy, dull, hazy appearance on old glasses that you can never seem to wipe off.
Yeah.
You haven't just dirtied the glass, you have permanently altered its molecular structure.
You've essentially etched the glass with heat. You ruined it from the inside out.
Yes.
And for those decorative gold and silver rims, the hot water softens the microscopic metallic leaf, allowing your sponge to just scrub the precious metal right off and down the drain.
So warm water is the absolute maximum temperature.
Got it. But what if the glass is really dirty? Like say you host a dinner party, and someone leaves a thick, heavy red lipstick mark right on the rim of a crystal wine glass.
That happens all the time.
The text has a clever hack for this. Remove lipstick marks with ordinary table salt before you even put the glass in the water.
Once again, we see salt being deployed as the perfect microabrasive.
So how does that work with lipstick?
Think about what lipstick is made of. It is a highly pigmented mixture of heavy waxes and oils designed to cling to skin.
Right.
If you just hit that with warm water and a wet sponge, you are just going to smear the red wax all around the rim of the glass, making a bigger mess.
Yeah, turning it into a pink smear.
By rubbing the dry mark with dry salt first, the jagged edges of the tiny salt crystals physically scrape the wax off the glass and absorb the oils, all without being hard enough to scratch the crystal itself. Then you wash it normally.
It's so simple and effective. Now, if you do have a glass that has gotten a little cloudy, maybe it's not permanently leached from heat, but it's just dull from hard water residue or age, the source says to dip the glass in a diluted ammonia solution and then wash it out thoroughly.
Ammonia is a powerful, highly alkaline solvent.
Okay.
It cuts right through heavy organic buildup and mineral haze without leaving any filmy streaks of its own, restoring that high refractive index to the glass so the light can shine through again.
Okay, what about the tricky shapes of glass? Because washing an open wine glass is one thing, but what about a tall vase or a wine carafe?
Those are tough.
Those narrow neck glass containers where you can clearly see the dirt sitting at the bottom, but the neck is so thin you can't get your hand, or even like a sponge on a stick in there.
This is a classic housekeeping puzzle.
Okay.
How do you apply mechanical force to a space you cannot physically reach?
Well, the source has an ingenious solution. It says to remove hard-to-reach dirt in a decanter or a narrow container, you go to the kitchen, you get some crumbled eggshells and lemon juice.
Okay.
You drop them down the neck of the vase, let it stand for 2 days, and then shake it back and forth vigorously before rinsing it out.
I adore this method. Let's analyze the components because it is brilliant physics and chemistry working together.
Well, the lemon juice we know from the bathtub trick, right? That's the citric acid slowly breaking down the hard water stains and the organic flour gunk sitting at the bottom of the vase over those 2 days. But the eggshells, that is so creative. It's like you're taking thousands of tiny, sharp, biodegradable scrubbing brushes, tossing them into the bottle, and letting the kinetic energy of you shaking the bottle do all the heavy scrubbing for you.
That is exactly what it is. Eggshells are composed primarily of calcium carbonate. They are hard enough, with sharp enough broken edges, to scrape away the loosened grime and algae from the glass.
But they don't scratch it.
Crucially, no.
Oh.
Calcium carbonate is softer on the Mohs hardness scale than glass, so no matter how hard you shake it, those thousands of tiny brushes will never scratch the inside of your expensive crystal decanter.
Yeah.
It's an elegant mechanical cleaning method that uses zero synthetic materials.
That's awesome. And what if that vase has been sitting in a sunny window for weeks and you've actually got thick green algae growing on the inside?
The source provides a specific targeted remedy for that too. To combat algae in a vase, add a handful of loose black tea leaves and douse them heavily with white vinegar. Dip the vase back and forth until the green coating disappears.
Vinegar and black tea. We have the strong acid from the vinegar, which I assume creates a hostile, lethal environment for the living algae.
The acid immediately attacks and kills the organic botanical growth.
And the tea.
And the dry black tea leaves serve a fascinating dual purpose. Mechanically, they provide a soft, leafy, abrasive texture when you swirl them around in the liquid, much like the eggshells, but even gentler.
Right.
Chemically, black tea is incredibly high in plant compounds called tannins. Tannins are astringent. They help break down biological matter and leave a squeaky clean, highly polished finish on the glass as they sweep across it.
Which perfectly transitions us to the largest pieces of glass in any house, the mirrors and the windows. You probably have a bottle of blue spray cleaner under your sink right now just for these.
Most people do.
How do we get our windows to gleam without buying bottles of commercial spray?
The text recommends keeping mirrors and windows gleaming with a simple mixture of warm water and vinegar.
Just water and vinegar.
The specific ratio is 1 cup of white vinegar to 1 quart of warm water. You rub it on the mirror with a soft cloth to break down the dirt, but the secret is how you finish it. You dry and buff the glass using crumpled up newspaper.
Newspaper? I remember my grandmother doing this when I was a kid, and I never understood it. Why does newspaper work so much better than a modern paper towel?
It comes down to the microscopic composition of the paper and the ink.
Okay, how so?
Modern paper towels are engineered to be highly absorbent, which means they are loosely woven and full of soft, loose fibers. When you rub glass with them, they shred microscopically and leave lint everywhere.
Oh, those little white fuzzies.
Right. Newspaper, on the other hand, is made from much denser, tightly pressed, less absorbent wood pulp. It maintains its structural integrity when damp, so it doesn't leave lint.
And what about the ink? Does it smudge?
No, the petroleum-based ink used in newsprint actually acts as a very mild, fine polish. When combined with the grease-cutting power of the vinegar, it leaves the glass completely streak-free.
And if you happen to find a small scratch on your glass surface or mirror while you're buffing it with that newspaper, the source offers a brilliant fix.
Let's hear it.
Polish away small scratches by smearing them with a little bit of toothpaste and then buffing it off with a soft cloth.
This is a classic trick. Toothpaste particularly traditional white paste rather than the clear gel kind, is packed with microscopic abrasives like hydrated silica or calcium carbonate.
Like the eggshells.
Exactly. The exact same materials designed to polish the hard enamel on your teeth without destroying it. By firmly buffing it into a glass scratch, you are gently sanding down the sharp, microscopic edges of the glass canyon.
Right, smoothing it out.
You are feathering the edges out so the scratch blends smoothly with the surrounding glass, altering how the light hits it and making it virtually invisible to the naked eye.
We are just using the physics of abrasion to our advantage over and over again.
We really are.
If you scrub glass too hard, you scratch it. But if you apply that kind of aggressive friction to something woven, something porous like a thick living room rug, you're not just scratching it, you're actively shredding it. Which brings us to a major shift in the materials we are discussing.
We are entering the secret life of textiles, the fibers of the home.
Exactly. Carpets, heavy curtains, and fabrics. These items are literal dust traps, and treating them wrong can ruin them permanently. The source opens this section by talking about rug cleaning, and specifically, the suction power of your vacuum cleaner.
It notes that while you should vacuum a standard synthetic carpet regularly, if you have an authentic Oriental rug, you must proceed with extreme caution.
Okay.
You vacuum it only occasionally, and you absolutely must keep the suction level on the machine low to avoid damaging the fine fibers.
That makes sense when you think about it. These rugs are often hand-knotted, incredibly intricate pieces made of natural fibers like wool or delicate silk. You do not want a massive 2,000-watt electric motor violently pulling and ripping those tiny hand-tied knots apart.
It's about respecting the historical construction of the textile.
But when it does come time to actually clean those fine rugs, the text offers some incredible non-commercial options. For instance, a recipe for a homemade dry cleaning powder for rugs.
I like this one.
You mix 3 tablespoons of pure soap flakes with 2 cups of ordinary cornstarch. You sprinkle the dry mixture generously over the rug, work it deep into the pile with a stiff scrub brush, let it sit, and then vacuum it all up.
Let's analyze the brilliant chemistry of that dry powder.
Yeah, why cornstarch?
Cornstarch is an ultra-fine, highly absorbent powder. When you physically brush it down into the carpet pile, it binds to the oils, greases, and foot sweat that are acting like glue, holding the dirt to the wool fibers. The soap flakes provide a concentrated dry surfactant that helps break those greasy bonds.
And because it's a completely dry powder, you aren't soaking the carpet padding with buckets of water and creating a massive risk for mildew and mold.
You let it sit for an hour, and it acts like a million tiny dry sponges, absorbing the grime. Then you just extract it with the vacuum. The dirt leaves with the powder.
Okay, but what if the rug is heavily soiled and you do want to wet clean it? The source outlines a method that I found absolutely fascinating.
The potato method.
Yes. It says to grate fresh, raw potatoes, scald the gratings with boiling water, let the mixture stand for 3 hours, strain out the potato chunks, and then use a brush to apply the clear potato water onto the rug. Let the rug dry completely, and then vacuum it. Boiling potatoes to clean my carpet.
I know it sounds like a recipe for soup, but it is a remarkable, highly technical method. It all comes back to the power of starch.
Potatoes are packed with heavy root starch.
Exactly. When you grate the raw potatoes and hit them with boiling water, the thermal shock ruptures the plant cells. You are extracting and gelatinizing those heavy root starches into the water.
Okay.
When you brush that starchy potato water onto the rug, you are essentially applying a very light natural sizing, or stiffener. As the water evaporates over several hours, the starch dries and crystallizes directly onto the carpet fibers, physically trapping the loose dirt particles inside a microscopic starch matrix.
Oh, I see. It encapsulates the dirt in a hard shell.
Yes, and then, when you run the vacuum over the dry rug, the brittle starch shell shatters and breaks away from the flexible wool carpet fibers, taking the encapsulated dirt right up the hose with it.
That is just brilliant.
It leaves the rug perfectly clean, and the tiny amount of residual starch left behind actually helps the individual fibers stand up straight, making the rug look fluffy and resisting future dirt.
But what about acute accidents? The text has a whole section on treating sudden, catastrophic stains, and the chemistry here is vital.
It's all about how you react.
If you cut your foot and get a blood stain on the rug, it explicitly says to treat it with cold mineral water, blotting with a clean towel as you go.
We discussed this exact principle with the dirty dishes. Blood is packed with heavy proteins, specifically hemoglobin.
So no hot water.
If you panic and scrub a bloodstain with hot water, you will thermally denature the hemoglobin. You will cook the red protein directly into the dye sites of the carpet fibers, and it will be permanently dyed brown.
And the mineral water.
The cold mineral water relaxes the protein, keeping it soluble, while the carbonation provides a gentle mechanical effervescence, tiny bubbles, to lift the blood from the pile so you can blot it.
And for coffee spills, you treat them immediately by dabbing the spot with a solution of vinegar, water, and a mild detergent.
Coffee is highly acidic and contains dark, potent plant tannins. The detergent lifts the oils from the roasted coffee bean, while the vinegar, being an acid itself, lowers the pH.
To keep it from setting.
Exactly. This helps keep the dark tannins suspended in the liquid so they can be blotted away into your towel rather than setting permanently into the carpet fibers.
Okay, but here's where I have to push back on the text, or rather, where the text pushed back on my entire worldview. The wine stain advice.
Oh, this is a big one.
If you spill a glass of dark red wine at a dinner party, the immediate panicked reaction of every person in the room is usually, "Quick, pour salt on it." It's like an old wives' tale that everyone accepts as gospel truth.
It's incredibly common.
But the source material drops a bomb here. It says in bold letters, "Never put salt on fresh red wine spills."
It's a very explicit, urgent warning.
It says the salt will set the stain, could leave an indelible permanent blue mark on the pile of the carpet, and will cause the carpet to remain damp for days.
This is a classic example of a widely shared cleaning hack that actually destroys the material you are trying to save.
Okay, so why does the salt make it glue?
Let's look at the chemistry of a spilled glass of Cabernet. Red wine contains complex molecules called anthocyanins. These are the pigment molecules from the grape skins that give the wine its deep red color. These pigments are highly sensitive to pH levels and chemical interactions.
So they react quickly to whatever you put on them.
Extremely quickly. Salt sodium chloride is heavily used in the professional textile industry as a mordant.
A mordant?
A mordant is a chemical fixative used to lock dye into fabrics permanently so they don't wash out. By dumping a mountain of salt onto a fresh, wet wine spill, you're essentially initiating an industrial chemical dyeing process right there on your living room floor.
Oh my God.
The salt acts as a bridge, forcing the red anthocyanins to chemically bond with the carpet fibers. Furthermore, the shift in the chemical environment caused by the salt is what forces those red pigments to mutate into a horrific, permanent bluish-purple stain.
So by listening to the dinner party advice, you are literally permanently dyeing your carpet blue. That's a nightmare. So what is the actual cure according to the text?
First, blot the excess liquid with paper towels immediately. Do not rub. Then treat the stain with a simple, highly diluted solution made from a 1/4 teaspoon mild liquid detergent and 1 quart of water. Blot again.
So just soap and water.
Your goal is to dilute the pigment with water and lift it with slippery surfactants, not to lock it into the carpet with a mineral fixative.
Forget the salt. That is vital to know. Let's talk about physical problems with carpets, not just chemical ones. Chewing gum.
Always a fun one.
The source says if you are horrified to find a wad of chewing gum stuck and ground deep into the rug, don't panic and don't pull it. Place a plastic bag filled with ice cubes directly over it.
This is a masterclass in utilizing physical state changes. Chewing gum is a synthetic rubber polymer.
Right.
At room temperature, it's an amorphous, sticky, flowing solid. It flows down into the microscopic crevices of the carpet fibers and tangles itself intimately. If you try to pull it, you stretch it. If you try to scrub it, you just smear it deeper into the pile.
But the ice cubes drastically alter the temperature of the material.
By applying the ice bag, you rapidly lower the temperature of the polymer below what physicists call its glass transition temperature.
Meaning it freezes.
It physically changes from a sticky, pliable elastomer into a brittle, hard plastic. Once the gum is frozen solid and brittle, its adhesive grip fails. You can literally just take a butter knife or a spatula and chip it away in clean, solid chunks.
I've done that, and it is the most satisfying feeling. The text actually uses that exact same ice cube trick for a completely different carpet problem furniture impressions. You know those deep, ugly divots left behind in the rug when you move a heavy couch or a heavy dining table?
The crushed pile, where the fibers have been compacted under hundreds of pounds of pressure for years.
The source says to place an ice cube directly inside the crushed divot to make the compressed fiber swell up, and then later vacuum the spot to make the pile stand up perfectly straight again.
We are once again harnessing the physical properties of water. As the ice cube slowly melts over a period of hours, it provides a very slow, targeted, capillary release of moisture directly into the crushed fibers.
Like a slow drip irrigation system for your carpet.
That's a great way to visualize it. The dry, crushed fibers slowly absorb the melting water and swell, physically plumping up from the inside.
So they don't just get soaked and lie flat.
Because the process is slow, they don't get overwhelmed and simply lie flat. As they eventually dry, they regain their natural structural memory, and the suction of the vacuum cleaner pulls them back to their original vertical orientation. It's physics, pure and simple.
Speaking of textiles that hang vertically, let's look at the curtains. The text calls them out specifically.
Yes, curtains are often ignored.
It notes that nets, curtains, and heavy blinds shield our families from the outside world. But there is a massive tendency to ignore them because they aren't on the floor. But over time, they collect dust, pet hair, and airborne pollution. They are basically giant vertical air filters in every room.
Which is why maintaining them requires specific, thoughtful techniques. For example, when you do finally take them down to wash them, the source recommends soaking brightly colored curtains in salt water to prevent them from fading.
Wait a second, I need to stop you. You literally just told me 10 minutes ago that salt ruined the carpet by setting the wine stain. Now you're telling me to soak my curtains in it.
I love that you caught that. In this specific context, we want the dye to set permanently. We want it locked in. The salt acts as a fixative, a mordant. It helps lock the manufacturer's original dye tightly into the fibers of the curtain so that the violent agitation of the washing machine and the hot water don't cause the bright colors to bleed out or fade prematurely over years of washing.
Okay, context is everything.
Yeah.
Now, what about those sheer white net curtains? The ones that are supposed to look crisp and clean, but over time they just get limp, dusty, and sad.
They lose their body.
Right. The text suggests stiffening net curtains with a solution of 1 part sugar to 3 parts water added to the final rinse cycle.
Think back to the boiling potato water we used for the rug. We are once again using heavy carbohydrates to provide invisible structural support.
So the sugar water coats the fibers.
The sugar water lightly coats the delicate net fibers in the wash. When the curtains hang out to dry, the sugar crystallizes microscopically on the threads, providing a beautiful, crisp, stiff finish without resorting to harsh, commercial synthetic starches that can eventually turn the fabric yellow.
And yellowing is a massive issue with white curtains, especially if someone in the house smokes or just from years of UV sunlight exposure and airborne cooking oils from the kitchen.
It's very noticeable.
The source provides an incredible variety of pantry remedies to combat this yellowing without ever reaching for chemical bleach.
Avoiding bleach is vital for longevity because heavy chlorine bleach physically attacks and degrades delicate natural fibers over time, causing them to turn brittle and eventually shred in the wash.
So instead of bleach, the text says you can soak yellowed nets in a mild baking soda solution before washing to lift the odors and stains. Or if you want to give older, stained nets an intentional, attractive cream color, instead of fighting for stark white, you can add an infusion of weak tea to the rinse cycle to tint them beautifully.
That's a great aesthetic fix.
But the wildest tips are these. The text claims you can get a brilliant whitening effect by adding a glass of ordinary cola, or 2 to 3 effervescent denture cleaning tablets right into the wash cycle.
I know it sounds completely absurd tossing dark brown soda and false teeth tablets in with your fine laundry, but if we synthesize the chemistry of why these work, it makes perfect logical sense.
Okay, convince me. Let's start with the denture tablets.
Let's take the denture tablets first. What happens when you drop them in a glass of water?
They immediately fizz up, they effervesce violently.
They do. They contain sodium bicarbonate and citric acid, which react in water to create millions of tiny, localized bubbles of carbon dioxide gas.
Right.
In a washing machine filled with delicate curtains, this effervescence provides microscopic, gentle mechanical agitation. The bubbles physically lift heavy protein and yellow smoke stains out of the delicate mesh without requiring aggressive, damaging scrubbing.
And are they safe for the fabric?
Plus, they contain very mild, targeted, oxygen-based bleaching agents that are designed to be safe for delicate acrylic dentures, making them perfectly safe for the synthetic or natural fibers of a curtain.
Okay, the tablets make sense. But cola. Cola is dark brown caramel. How on earth does pouring a brown liquid onto white curtains make them whiter?
It's all about the hidden acidity.
Good.
Cola is highly acidic. It contains carbonic acid and often potent phosphoric acid.
Okay.
These are powerful yet non-destructive acids that easily break down stubborn mineral deposits, rust from the curtain rings, and the heavy set-in cooking greases that cause fabrics to yellow.
But what about the caramel color? Won't it dye the white curtain brown?
The laundry detergent you use in the wash cycle binds to the brand caramel coloring of the cola, preventing it from depositing on the fabric. allowing the invisible acids to do their deep cleaning work before being safely rinsed away.
It's literally like having a high-end chemistry lab right in your laundry room. Now, while we are on the fascinating topic of altering the color of fabrics, the source includes a beautiful, extensive section on natural fabric dyeing.
This is a really detailed section.
It says adding new color can totally refresh well-worn, faded clothing, and while you can buy synthetic dye packets at the store, it's worth remembering that incredibly effective, natural dyes found right in your home or garden have been used for centuries.
This section outlines perhaps the most deeply traditional skill in the entire document. But before they tell you how to do it, they lay down some very strict chemical ground rules.
That's the main one.
The most important one is that only fabrics made from pure natural fibers, such as 100% cotton, rayon, linen, or half linen, can be successfully dyed at home.
It explicitly says to avoid trying to dye synthetic fibers like polyester, nylon, and acrylic because they simply won't absorb the color.
Synthetic fibers are, at their core, essentially extruded plastics. They're smooth, solid polymers that completely lack the microscopic porous structures, hollow cores, and specific chemical receptor sites that natural plant and animal fibers possess.
So the dye just washes away.
If you put polyester in a vat of natural plant dye, the pigment simply slides right off the plastic surface when you rinse it. It has nothing to hold on to.
Another golden rule they mention for dyeing. Light-colored clothes are the easiest to dye, and you should always, always choose a new shade that is darker than the original garment. You can't dye a black shirt yellow.
Dyeing is an additive color process, not opaque paint. You are layering transparent pigment over existing pigment. The base color always influences the final result.
Let's look at the nature's palette they provide in the text, because it sounds like a recipe for a witch's brew in the absolute best way possible.
It does.
They say you can create vibrant, basic dyes from things you just find outside in the yard or in the kitchen scrap bin. Gathering fallen oak leaves will give you a dark beige to olive color. Boiling blueberries makes purple. Chopped dandelion root makes a pale, earthy yellow. Beets make a brilliant carmine red, and dry onion skins make a surprisingly vibrant orange.
The preparation method is rigorous too.
Yeah.
You don't just mash the berries onto the shirt. You have to actively boil 1 full cup of the plant leaves, crushed flowers, or chopped root in 2 quarts of water for a full hour.
You're creating a highly concentrated boiling botanical soup.
You have to apply sustained heat to extract the deeply complex plant pigments, the heavy tannins from the oak, the red anthocyanins from the berries, the carotenoids from the onion skins, pulling them out of the plant cells and suspending them in the water.
And how do you make it stay in the fabric?
To guarantee that the dye actually sticks to the clothing permanently, the text instructs you to use a mordant, specifically dissolving a mineral called alum in water and simmering the fabric in that chemical bath for an hour before you ever put it into the plant brew.
Just like the salt with the wine.
Exactly. The alum acts as the anchor, bonding the plant pigment to the cotton fiber forever.
It's a wonderful, involved way to rejuvenate something old and cherished rather than just throwing it away in a landfill.
Very sustainable.
We just talked about boiling oak leaves to dye a shirt. Let's flip that around entirely. How do you care for the oak itself? The solid wood.
We're entering the realm of structural organics, wood furniture, and wicker.
These materials require an entirely different level of care to stay alive and beautiful, because unlike a fired ceramic plate or a glass window, a piece of wood furniture is still, in a way, breathing. It reacts to the humidity and the temperature of its environment.
The source approaches antique wooden furnishings with incredible reverence. It states unequivocally as a hard rule, never expose antique wood to direct sun, and never treat it with modern conventional aerosol polishes.
It says because of the wood's age, the finish is delicate, and those conventional store-bought oils can aggressively degrade the finish.
They really do.
Instead, they recommend polishing antique furnishings strictly with natural beeswax granules to treat the wood for long-lasting, safe protection.
Beeswax is the ultimate historical wood protectant, for a very good reason. Modern commercial aerosol polishes are almost always loaded with synthetic silicones and heavy mineral oils.
But they look so shiny when you spray them.
While these chemicals give an immediate, wet-looking, high-gloss shine that looks great for a day, over time they penetrate the microscopic pores of the antique varnishes. They soften the historic finish, turning it tacky and sticky, and trap airborne dust permanently in the wood grain.
They suffocate the wood with plastic.
Exactly. Pure beeswax, on the other hand, sits proudly on the surface. It forms a hard, natural, breathable barrier that powerfully repels moisture and gives a soft, warm, diffused luster without ever chemically altering the historic cured finish underneath.
Okay, so beeswax is the undisputed gold standard. But then, right below that incredibly traditional advice, the text offers a remedy for shining teak or rosewood or maintaining oak that absolutely threw me for a loop.
Ah, the famous beer treatment.
The beer treatment. It says to shine dark, dense woods like teak or rosewood. Use a mix of 1¼ cups of beer, 1 tablespoon of melted beeswax, and 2 teaspoons of granulated sugar.
Yes.
You brush this mixture on thinly, let it dry, and buff it out. When I read this, I literally asked myself out loud, are we cleaning the dining room table or are we buying it a drink? Beer and sugar.
I agree. It sounds like a recipe for a sticky, disgusting pub floor waiting to happen.
Right.
But if we break down the components chemically, this is actually a highly sophisticated, multi-stage restoration treatment for dense hardwoods.
Okay, I need to understand this. What on earth is the beer doing?
Beer is primarily composed of water, alcohol, and complex carbohydrates from the fermented grains. The alcohol and the mild fermented acidity act as gentle but effective solvents.
So they clean it.
They cut right through the dull surface grime, the old cooking smoke, and the heavy finger oils that accumulate on wood over the years. The water simply provides the carrying agent to spread it around.
Okay, the beer is the cleaner. But the sugar? I don't want ants in my house. Why make the table sticky?
The sugar, when combined with the residual grain carbohydrates already in the beer, acts similarly to the sugar water stiffener we discussed for the net curtains.
Oh, interesting.
As the alcohol and water slowly evaporate off the table, the sugars crystallize microscopically within the open, porous grain of the teak or oak. This crystallization provides a very subtle, hard filler that physically smooths out the microscopic roughness of the aging wood surface.
Making it perfectly flat and therefore more reflective to light.
You hit the nail on the head. And finally, the melted beeswax that was suspended in this liquid mixture is left behind.
Right.
As you aggressively buff the dried table with a cloth, the friction heats the wax, forcing it to form the final, protective, hydrophobic topcoat. The wax seals in the crystallized sugars and leaves a brilliant hard shine. It's a chemical cleaner, a physical filler, and a protective polish, all delivered in one single application.
That is chemistry at its absolute finest. Now, what happens when things go wrong with wood? Accidental scratches and stains.
Those are always tough.
The text has a fascinating approach to the dreaded water ring. You know exactly what I mean. When a guest sets a sweaty, ice-cold glass down on your wood table without using a coaster, and an hour later it leaves that cloudy, white, ghost-like circle.
A classic infuriating problem.
Yeah.
It is caused by moisture getting trapped just beneath the surface of the wax or light varnish.
The source says to remove white rings left by glasses, you mix ordinary mayonnaise with a little bit of ash and then rub the paste firmly on the affected area. Mayonnaise and ash.
Think about the physical properties of those two ingredients. The white ring isn't permanent damage to the wood grain itself. It's literally water vapor trapped under the clear finish.
So how does the mayo fix it?
Mayonnaise is a heavy emulsion of dense oils and egg yolks. When you let it sit on the white ring, those heavy oils slowly seep down into the microscopic pores of the finish and physically displace the trapped water molecules, turning the finish clear again.
But where does the ash come into play? Do I just use cigarette ash?
Ash, whether from a wood fireplace or a cigarette, is an incredibly fine, soft, abrasive powder, much, much finer than salt or baking soda.
Out.
By mixing the ash with a heavy mayo, you create a microscopic, highly controlled polishing compound. As you rub it, you are gently, almost invisibly buffing the surface of the finish to allow the oil to penetrate faster, without ever scratching the surrounding clear coat.
It's brilliant. And for actual physical scratches where the wood is gouged, the source tailors the chemical solution to the color of the wood itself. For light-colored wood, you can rub out scratches with a dab of petroleum jelly or a mixture of oil and white vinegar. But for dark wood, you are instructed to use red wine instead of the vinegar.
It's highly practical and incredibly smart.
And it's a dye.
Well, the oil or the thick petroleum jelly serves to deeply rehydrate the dried, raw, exposed wood fibers inside the scratch, which darkens them naturally so they blend into the surrounding finish. The acidic element, the vinegar or the wine, helps break surface tensions so the oil can penetrate deeper.
And the wine?
And by purposefully using red wine on dark, rich wood like mahogany or walnut, you are utilizing those exact same red anthocyanin pigments we tried so desperately to avoid spilling on the carpet. This time, you're using them intentionally to dye the raw wood fibers to perfectly match the dark finish.
It's all about context. It's using the right tool for the right material. Speaking of materials melting, the text addresses removing spilled candle wax from wood. Say you knocked a candle over on the table. Your first instinct is to grab a butter knife and start scraping.
Don't do that.
The text says absolutely do not scrape it. It says to use a hairdryer, switch to the lowest fan speed and the highest heat setting to melt the wax residue back into a puddle, then wipe it up with a paper towel, followed by a wipe with a solution of vinegar and water.
Again, utilizing physical state changes. You gently melt the wax back into a flowing liquid so it can be wiped away safely without ever bringing a sharp metal edge near your expensive wood. And the vinegar seamlessly cuts the slippery, greasy residue the wax leaves behind.
Now, let's move from a solid wood to woven wood, like wicker and rattan. Furniture made of thin, woven plant fibers.
These pieces are notoriously difficult to maintain because they sit in the sun, they dry out, they become dangerously brittle, and they harbor massive amounts of dust deep inside the complex weave.
The text suggests vacuuming them, often using the soft brush attachment, which makes perfect sense to remove the dust. But to actively increase the durability of rattan or wicker, it says to take a brush and coat the furniture once a year with heavy salt water.
Salt water is a deeply traditional, highly effective preservative.
Really, just salt and water.
By brushing the dry wicker heavily with salt water, the porous plant fibers absorb the moisture, plumping up and preventing them from becoming dangerously dry and brittle.
And the salt.
The salt remains behind inside the fibers as the water evaporates. It acts as a mild, permanent desiccant, prevents rot, and crucially, the salty taste deters insects from chewing on the natural plant fibers.
That's a great preventative measure. But what if the damage is already done from years of use? The source has a fix for sagging wicker seats. You know, when you've sat in a cane chair too many times and the seat gets that permanent deep bowl shape in the middle?
The woven fibers have been stretched under human weight and have deformed.
The trick the text provides is to heavily dampen the sagging, stretched seats with scalding hot water and then immediately place the chair outdoors in the hot sun to dry for at least 24 hours. The text promises, as the fibers dry, they should tighten and shrink back to their original shape.
We are looking at the hygroscopic properties of dead plant fibers. They naturally expand when they're wet, and they shrink dramatically when they dry.
Ooh.
By hitting those stretched, sagging fibers with hot water, you force the plant cells to swell maximally, making the cane highly pliable. As they dry out rapidly in the circulating hot air outdoors, the capillary forces within the plant cells forcefully pull the fibers taut.
They shrink wrap themselves.
They literally shrink wrap themselves back into a tight, flat, drum-like weave. It's an elegant, powerful application of physics.
Let's bring this conversation down to the ground. Let's talk about floors. We have all these beautiful, expensive organic materials right under our feet.
The rules for treating floors follow the exact same logic we've applied everywhere else. Respect the material.
The source notes that you should mop sealed wood floors with a bucket of black tea to add a matte sheen and an attractive, warm color. Again, utilizing those dark tannins.
The tanners in the tea microscopically tighten the pores of the finish and provide a warm, natural, glowing tint to the wood.
For highly porous terracotta and unglazed natural stone tiles, the text says you must seal them heavily with pure linseed oil as soon as they have been laid, even before you put the grout in, and then you must avoid mopping them with water for 2 full weeks.
Terracotta translates to baked earth. It is essentially a hard sponge. It is incredibly porous.
Meaning everything stains it.
If you spill a drop of red wine or hot cooking grease on untreated terracotta, it instantly penetrates deep into the stone and is there forever. Linseed oil is what chemists call a drying oil.
What does that mean?
When applied heavily to the stone, it seeps deep into those microscopic pores. Then, as the oil is exposed to the oxygen in the air over those crucial 2 weeks, it polymerizes. It undergoes a chemical reaction where it hardens into a tough, impermeable, natural plastic-like barrier from the inside out.
Which protects the floor from the heavy, messy use of daily life. And speaking of daily life, there is a massive, critical warning here about cleaning natural stone floors like expensive marble or limestone.
This is so important.
The text says to never clean marble aggressively, and specifically, absolutely do not use vinegar for cleaning or washing natural stone floors.
This is a critical, incredibly expensive error many well-meaning people make when they try switching to natural cleaning routines. They see how well vinegar works on glass and bathtubs, and they assume vinegar is a safe, universal cleaner for everything.
But the text warns that acidic cleaners will actively dissolve the floor.
It is not an exaggeration. It literally dissolves it.
Wow.
Marble and limestone are sedimentary rocks, primarily composed of calcium carbonate. They are highly alkaline rocks. Vinegar, as we know, is acetic acid. When you put an acid directly onto an alkaline rock, you create a violent, immediate chemical reaction.
The fizzing.
The vinegar literally etches and eats away the surface of the stone on contact, turning a highly polished, incredibly expensive marble foyer into a dull, pitted, chalky, ruined mess. You must strictly use pH-neutral cleaners for any natural stone.
We've been looking at the house as this big architectural puzzle, the floors, the windows, the large furniture. But if you zoom in, the things we interact with most intimately, the things that physically support us and protect us, require a completely different level of maintenance.
We are transitioning to the daily comforts, the beds, the shoes, and the doors, the hardware of our daily routines.
Let's start with our feet. The source opens the footwear section with a biological statistic that is both fascinating and slightly horrifying.
Yeah, I remember this one.
It says our feet need constant air because they contain about 250,000 sweat glands, and together they can produce up to 1 full cup, 250 milliliters of perspiration every single day.
It is a staggering amount of moisture and salt being pumped directly into the dark, enclosed environment of your shoes every single day.
A cup of foot sweat. No wonder shoes smell and break down so fast. To combat this biological reality, the text offers some incredible traditional maintenance routines. First, a simple buying tip. Always buy new shoes in the afternoon. Why? Because your feet physically swell up during the day from gravity and pressure, and you don't want to buy tight shoes in the morning only to find they are agonizingly tight by midday.
A very practical piece of physiological advice.
But if you do have a pair of expensive leather shoes that pinch your toes, they have a solution. And this is classic old school ingenuity. It says if your shoes pinch, stuff them as tightly as possible with either crumpled wet newspaper or freshly peeled wet potatoes.
Yes, the potatoes again.
Let them dry out slowly, then wear them. When I read peeled potatoes, I couldn't stop laughing. Peeled potatoes to stretch leather.
It utilizes the exact same moisture expansion principles we just discussed with the sagging wicker chair, but working in reverse. Leather is skin. It's highly porous and becomes pliable when moist.
Right.
By stuffing the toe box of the shoe tightly with peeled wet potatoes, you are introducing a slow, constant, humid source of moisture. The leather absorbs this moisture, softening the stiff fibers. At the same time, the physical, dense bulk of the potato provides a constant outward mechanical pressure against the softened leather.
So it's like a custom shoe tree.
Exactly. As the shoe slowly dries over a few days, the leather permanently sets into its new, slightly expanded custom shape.
It's so gentle compared to shoving a harsh wooden block in there and cranking a metal screw until the seams burst. And for daily care, the routine the text suggests is highly regimented. The source says to avoid wearing the same pair of shoes 2 days in a row to give them time to completely air out that cup of sweat. And for shining leather, it lays down a firm rule. Always polish your leather shoes in the evening so that the polish can work overnight, and then brush and shine the shoes the next morning.
This highlights a crucial misunderstanding about shoe care. Polishing isn't just about painting color on the shoe, it's about deep nourishment. Shoe polish contains heavy waxes and nourishing natural oils.
So you have to let it soak in.
If you slap the polish on in the morning and immediately buff it off before you walk out the door, you are only treating the very top superficial surface. By applying it and letting it sit overnight, you allow the nourishing oils hours to deeply penetrate the dry leather pores, keeping the hide supple and preventing it from cracking as it flexes. The morning brushing just removes the excess surface wax to create friction and a high shine.
And for specific problem materials, there are specific tricks. For very sweaty shoes or delicate suede that can't be polished, you sprinkle dry talcum powder inside and let it work overnight.
Because the ultrafine powder absorbs the heavy oils and moisture safely without ruining the nap of the suede.
And to repel water from flat leather soles, the text advises coating the bottoms occasionally with thick castor oil.
Castor oil is a uniquely heavy, highly viscous natural oil. It creates a superb, long-lasting hydrophobic barrier on the bottom of the shoe, preventing rain and puddle water from soaking upward through the leather sole and ruining the delicate inner sole.
So we take off our beautifully maintained waterproof shoes and we go to bed. The text notes that we spend a full third of our lives in bed. Keeping that specific space clean and structurally sound is vital for human rejuvenation.
The advice here focuses heavily on constant aeration and clever mechanical cleaning.
It says you must turn a standard mattress completely over every 3 months and flip it end to end twice a year to prevent deep body lumps from forming. But it adds a very modern caveat. However, a memory foam mattress should never be turned over
This is a vital structural distinction.
because they're built differently, right?
Yes. Traditional spring or cotton batting mattresses compress symmetrically under human weight over time, so flipping them distributes the mechanical wear evenly across both sides. Memory foam, however, is a highly engineered polyurethane structure
Right.
built in specific directional layers.
Usually a dense, rock-hard support core on the very bottom and softer, conforming gel layers on top.
Right, if you flip it, you are literally sleeping on the rigid foundation layer, defeating the entire ergonomic purpose of the material.
Good to know. But how do you actually clean a mattress? You can't exactly stuff a king-size mattress into the washing machine.
No, you can't.
The traditional cleaning method the source describes is wild. It says to take the mattress out of the bedroom, let it breathe in the fresh air, then place a large, damp sheet completely over the mattress and beat the mattress violently with a stick. The damp cloth will pick up the dust and can then be laundered.
Think about the physics of beating a dry mattress in your bedroom.
It would be awful.
If you just hit a dry mattress with a stick, you are launching millions of microscopic dust mites, dead human skin cells, and highly reactive allergens directly into the air as a massive floating cloud. You breathe that cloud in, and eventually it just settles right back down onto the bed and the floor.
It's a biohazard dust cloud.
Exactly. By placing a heavy, damp sheet tightly over the mattress before you beat it, you are creating an inescapable physical trap.
Oh, because the dust flies up and hits at the wet sheet.
The sudden kinetic energy of the stick beating the mattress forces the dust up and out of the deep mattress fibers. But the moisture in the sheet instantly captures and binds those flying particles. The dust hits the damp cloth and sticks like glue. You carefully fold the sheet up, wash the dust safely down the drain in the washing machine, and the mattress is perfectly clean.
That is incredibly clever engineering. Finally, in this segment, let's look at the literal borders of our rooms, the doors and the locks, the physical hardware that keeps our family secure.
Doors are complex mechanical systems, and they require active maintenance to function silently and efficiently.
The text mentions sanding the edges of doors if too much humidity or too many layers of paint are causing them to stick in the frame, and muffling the sound of a noisy, clanking door latch by gluing soft felt strips directly into the door frame. But there is a massive critical warning when it comes to the locks themselves.
The internal link mechanism.
The text says if a lock sticks, you can use a pencil to scrape some dry, powdered graphite onto the key and work it into the keyhole. It says use powdered graphite around a tight latch, but never, ever use liquid oil as dust adheres to it and will completely clog the mechanism.
This is a crucial piece of mechanical advice that saves hundreds of dollars in locksmith fees.
Really? Just from oil?
A standard door lock is filled with tiny precision-cut metal pins and microscopic springs. If you spray a liquid oil like WD-40 or a household sewing machine oil into a keyhole, it feels great initially. The mechanism slides smoothly.
Oil reduces friction. That's what it's made for.
It does, but oil remains wet indefinitely inside that dark hole. Every single time you pull your house key out of your pants pocket or your purse, it brings microscopic pocket lint, dirt, and airborne dust directly into the lock.
And it sticks to the wet oil.
That dust physically sticks to the wet oil. Over months and years, this creates a thick, sticky, highly abrasive sludge that will eventually freeze those tiny precision pins completely solid, and you will be permanently locked out of your own house.
So the dry graphite is the only answer.
Graphite is pure carbon. It is a highly effective dry lubricant. The microscopic plates of carbon slide effortlessly over one another, drastically reducing friction between the metal parts without ever leaving a wet, sticky residue behind for dust to adhere to. The lock stays perfectly lubricated and perfectly clean.
Okay, we have covered an immense amount of physical ground today. We've gone from the acidic chemistry of the bathtub to the mechanical physics of the bedroom locks. But let's zoom way out for our final segment.
Okay, looking at the big picture.
So you're standing in your hallway, your lock is graphited, your shoes are stuffed with wet potatoes, your carpet is covered in cornstarch. How do you manage all of this? How do you apply this without making housekeeping your full-time, exhausting job?
The source material provides a master schedule. It's a macro-level strategy designed to logically organize all of this seemingly disparate work.
And it all boils down to one core mantra printed right in the middle of the text, from top to bottom, from back to front.
It is the golden, unbreakable rule of moving through any physical space.
I love the simplicity of this rule. Let's talk about the top to bottom part first. To me, this means you are simply letting gravity do half the physical work for you. If you dust the high ceiling fan first, the dirt falls on the dining table. If you wipe the table next, the crumbs fall on the floor. Then finally you vacuum the floor. You aren't ever cleaning the same space twice.
That is the obvious physical benefit, which saves time. But there is also a profound psychological benefit hidden in this rule. Housekeeping can be deeply paralyzing because the sheer overwhelming volume of tasks when a house is messy, top to bottom, back to front, represents a highly logical, systemized approach to life. It completely removes the cognitive load of deciding where to start.
Decision fatigue is real.
It is. You don't have to stand in the doorway, look at a chaotic room, and feel overwhelmed by choices. You just look up. You start at the highest physical point in the room, at the furthest corner from the door, and you simply work your way down and out. The system dictates the action. You just follow the path.
It takes the emotion and the stress out of the chore. You just execute the physical pattern. And to keep that pattern from becoming a massive weekend-destroying event, the text heavily emphasizes the power of dailies.
Daily micro-habits.
Right. It lists them out clearly. Keep your household orderly. Pick up scattered clothing and toys immediately. Shake out your bedding and air your bedroom every morning. Rinse out the bathroom sink immediately after brushing your teeth. Wipe down the work surfaces in the kitchen the moment you finish cooking.
These sound incredibly basic, almost too simple to mention, but they represent a fundamental shift in how we view the concept of cleaning. Modern society often treats cleaning as a highly reactive event. We wait until the house is an absolute disaster, and then we are forced to spend 8 exhausting, angry hours doing a massive spring clean.
Which is miserable for everyone involved.
It is. The traditional method outlined here is purely proactive. By doing these tiny 2-minute tasks every single day, wiping the sink while the toothpaste is fresh, airing the bed before the moisture sets in, you're constantly resetting the baseline of the home.
Keeping it at a manageable level.
As the text notes, quickly wiping work surfaces actively prevents dirt and bacteria from ever taking hold in the first place. Dirt has compounding interest. The longer it sits, the harder it is to remove. You are managing the natural entropy of the home on a daily basis, so the massive, deep cleaning tasks remain highly infrequent and totally manageable.
It's the exact difference between doing tiny bits of scheduled maintenance on your car's engine versus waiting for the engine to blow up on the highway and having to replace the whole thing.
A perfect comparison.
This has been such an incredible, eye-opening journey today. We started this deep dive with the modern expectation that keeping a home clean required an expensive arsenal of harsh, toxic chemicals. But by really diving into the source material, we've seen that you can maintain your spaces beautifully and safely with things like crushed eggshells, cold mineral water, a slice of lemon, a damp bed sheet, and incredibly warm milk and peeled potatoes.
We've replaced synthetic commercial shortcuts with a genuine understanding of material science, organic chemistry, and physical mechanics.
It's empowering.
Yeah.
It turns you from a passive consumer of brightly colored cleaning products into a true, knowledgeable caretaker of your home and your belongings.
If we connect all of this to the bigger picture of our lives, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. We've just spent an hour seeing how modern chemical cleaners are largely just harsh shortcuts that can actively degrade and destroy our belongings over time, while traditional natural material-focused methods preserve them for generations.
Right.
It makes you wonder, what else in our fast-paced daily lives have we completely overcomplicated with modern commercial products? Are we buying solutions that are actually creating new problems? The next time you face a problem in your home, pause and ask yourself, what would my great-grandparents have used? You might just find the perfect, elegant answer waiting for you in your fruit bowl or your tea cabinet.